Many shades of pink and black health. Many shades of pink and black health, where good health equals long life. Welcome to the Many Shades of Pink and Black Health Radio program on KBOKradio.com, sponsored by Many Shades of Pink. I'm your host, Wendy Shurelds, breast cancer survivor and advocate.
And I'm your co-host, Dr. Susanna Follow, a retired family physician. And guess who's our special guest today? It's our very own, my sister, Wendy Shurelds. She is a mother, an author, a realtor, an entrepreneur, breast cancer survivor, and an advocate. And today our topic is going to be Shattered into Purpose, which is actually the chapter that she wrote in this book called Open Your Gifts. And I'm going to have her talk a little bit about that after we just have her she's so proud of it. After she has her opportunity to share, a little more detail about who she is, her family, and where she's from.
Well, and for those that don't know, I'm originally from Ohio, and it's a little dot called Lima, Ohio. It's in between Toledo, Ohio, and Dayton, Ohio. And so I'm a Midwest girl. I give it up for, the OH Buckeyes. And I have two brothers, an older brother and a younger brother. And I have two children, my daughter Oshina and my son Dejan. And I think that one of my biggest accomplishments is having, my children.
Yeah. And being successful with them, because
Yes.
not everyone can say that. And
Yeah.
I can vouch that she's an awesome mom.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah,
Yeah.
great children. And a young adult. I mean, she just got married a year ago, right? In the
Yes.
summer? Yeah.
Yeah.
It's been a year.
Waiting on my grandbaby now.
Give her some time. Give her some time. So that's good. That's good. And what actually brought you to San Diego, actually?
Well, I was very close to my granddad, and he would always share stories with me about California, and he had a sister, in California. And from watching Soul Train, I used to always say, "Oh, I'm going to California. I'm going to go to California."
Mm-hmm.
And lo and behold, my dad actually moved to Los Angeles, and he was there for like 40 years. And Los Angeles is a pretty big city, and I'm a little small Midwest type of person.
Mm-hmm.
Make a long story short, I came to San Diego to visit my aunt, and I tell you that, that I always talk about my aunt because she truly was one of a kind. She's a one of a kind type of aunt. She was like, if you move here, I will help you, and you don't have anything to worry about. And I came to San Diego and just fell in love with it, because I was like, wow, this is like the best kept secret as far as a city,
Right.
And it was just beautiful. It was clean. And I could feel myself like, this is my type of city.
Yeah.
And at that time, it was very, very relaxed, very calming. It wasn't a lot of people here.
Right.
And I could just see myself growing.
Right. What year did you move here?
I moved here, gosh, I've been here, let me see, 85
Okay.
or 86, somewhere
Okay.
like that.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
So I've
You've
been
a
here
while.
a long. So it's my home.
Right.
I have adapted, even though I was born and raised in Ohio, but I've been in San Diego longer.
Absolutely.
So actually, I have adapted. I've adopted. I'm a San Diegan.
That's right. And so you weren't even far from your father either, because he was in Los Angeles. So
Right.
you could have, opportunity to go and visit him and hang out with him, but then come back to something that's not quite as hectic as Los Angeles.
Right, and I always say that I can go to LA, get a taste of my blackness, and then come on back to San Diego.
Absolutely.
You know, and have that. You know, we have diversity here in San Diego, but not as much as we have the black culture in LA, and that's something that I always appreciated when visiting and being in LA is their black communities and not just having a black community, but having black communities that were well off, and that just made you feel proud. Uh,
Right.
Seeing people, brown people, and black people that look like you that are so successful.
Right. Places
So,
like
Ladera
Heights, Baldwin
Bald
Hills, and Windsor Hills, places
yes.
like that. Right.
So it was. I enjoyed going, but not enough to live there. I'll be honest. I was a little pretty terrified of Los Angeles.
It's overwhelming.
Yeah, it is.
It can be. It's large. It's busy, hectic,
Yeah.
but still, that's kind of my home. So.
Yeah. See, that's where you from.
Right. So,
well, not originally,
right,
but that's where
where I
you was
grew up.
raised.
Right,
Yeah.
right. So tell us a little bit about, before we get into the book, I'm curious about how do you get into real estate?
So, my dad is a mortgage broker, was a mortgage broker, and I was into the health field. And I love the health field, love, making people feel good and, the wanting to care for others and having that sense of feeling of helping and caring for others. And my dad was in the real estate, and he just always told me, you need to come over here to real estate because you're not going to make no money in the medical field.
Come on over here and make some good money.
Exactly,
right?
And that's what he kept on saying. And I just basically end up becoming a realtor to please him, but did not know that I was a natural. And when I say I was a natural, it's because when I was a little, my mom would take me to these huge mansions, and she loved going to estate sales because she was an interior decorator. And so I always would look and study the structure of homes and how they were made, and so I was a natural. So I basically I go and look at houses when I don't even have a client just to see how they built. And I love being a realtor, and I love showing homes, and fulfilling and making someone's dream come true.
Right.
So just a natural in that aspect of it.
So do you still do some of that now, or you scale that back because you're doing so many other things?
Yeah, I actually really scaled real estate back. I worked for so many years behind the scene, helping my dad with the mortgage broker part of it, and I scaled back from being a realtor, which is showing homes, and because I just love doing that. But for so many years, I just worked behind the scenes, helping him, and also managing, apartment units that that we had acquired.
So property management.
Yeah,
doing
property
that.
management. That was a big part of my day-to-day life. Yeah.
Okay, so that's that. And then we know you're an entrepreneur, and you've shared with me,
Yes.
maybe with the audience too, but you've shared with me in the past that you purchased a business back in Chicago somewhere. Tell us a little bit about that, because that's part of. I mean, you were already an entrepreneur, but you kind of branched out on your own, even though your dad wasn't quite sure about. Are you sure you want to do this?
Right. So actually, I was working at UCSD, also working as a realtor. Being self-employed, working in the family business, and I don't know what possessed me to invest in a network technology business in Chicago.
Well, how did you find out about it? Did someone call you and tell you? Or did you look
I
online?
knew the person personally. That was their family was selling the business, and did not know not one inkling about network technology is data cabling, voice over IP, and that was like a business, and it was it was technology, and I was just like, well, it's technology, I'll invest in it, and I went back to Chicago, and I didn't know nothing about the business, but studied it a little bit, and got it up and running, and it went from there. We had, my dad was like, all I know is my daughter went to Chicago, and next thing you know, she is running this business and up and running and already have jobs.
That's what your father was saying?
Yeah, he was like, wow, he was so impressed because I did not know anything about this business, but I managed to get us all the different minority participation certifications.
Contracts and stuff too?
Right, because we had so many different minority participation certifications, the businesses came to us.
Okay.
Because they get, so much of a tax break and benefit from working with a minority company.
Okay.
So I tell you that we, it was up and just running and off, and even the guy, it was his family that owned the business. He didn't know too much about the business aspect because he was a technician, and so they were just like, they didn't think that I would be able to do it. And from there, because I went to Chicago for a while to get all the certification to basically get the business license, do everything, do all the groundwork, and then I was able to manage it from San Diego. I did all the payroll, and everything from
long distance
business, and then from time to time I would go and have the business meetings, there. But it ran smoothly, and I actually enjoyed it because it was a challenge, and I love a challenge.
Right.
Yeah.
How many years did you have it before you sold it?
Actually, probably 2 years.
That's good. So it was good experience.
Yeah, it was very good experience, and I kind of just let it go once passed, and so.
Your life took a different turn.
Yeah,
so,
it just took a different turn.
You didn't have the energy or the motivation to focus on a business at that point.
I believe in sometimes you have to choose between having peace and being able to process what has, the changes that occurred in your life, then dealing with a stressful business. So that was a decision I made to actually just step away from it.
Well, it was probably best because you needed the time and energy to focus on your mom's situation, which we'll get into later, but also, the stress of running a business from a distance. It's already hard enough running a business when you're right there in the city.
Right, exactly.
And then you're doing it long distance, 3,000 miles away, and you have employees that may or may not be doing what they're supposed to do. You can't just go in the office, roll in and do a drive-by and say, hey, you're slacking up.
But I have to give the employees credit because they had the utmost respect for me, because I think it's because they know that I was the one that was going to be paying them their check,
You don't bite the hand that feeds you. Not if you're smart.
Right. So I have to give it to them because for the most part they did respect me as their boss, and they often reported to me things that we had big jobs and we had to hire other technicians, and so
like do
they
a subcontract.
Right. Well, not
or hire on to keep them.
It all depends on like the different type of jobs. If it's a small jobs, we only probably use one or two technicians. But when it got into the bigger jobs, then we had to hire on more technicians in order to complete that job.
But was that a temporary hire?
It was a temporary hire.
Contracted for 6 months or whatever.
Well,
until that job was finished?
we actually kind of kept them,
Mhm.
but they didn't work all the jobs.
Right, so they were more like on-call type of thing.
Yeah.
Okay, so
yeah.
that's good. Well, you figured out how to make it work.
I
did.
did, I did, and
Mhm.
I actually surprised myself, but it was an accomplishment,
Mhm.
and I was very, very proud of myself, and my dad was even more prouder of me.
Right,
Mhm.
and those you learned some skill sets that you needed to now step into some other things that you did in your future.
Right.
So I think with that, what we'll do is make a nice transition because I'd like to speak about the book when we come back.
Right.
So we're going to take a break. You're listening to the Many Shades of Pink and Black Health Radio program on KBLKradio.com, and we'll be right back.
I'm a breast cancer survivor.
We are honoring our heroes.
I'm here today because of Susan G. Coleman's free mammogram.
We are pledging to save lives.
We're passionate about bringing the services out to the community.
We are providing free mammograms. We are providing hope. Welcome back to the Many Shades of Pink and Black Health Radio Show on KBLKradio.com. Sponsored by Many Shades of Pink. I'm your host, Wendy Shurelds, breast cancer survivor and advocate.
And I'm your co-host, Dr. Susanna Follow, a retired family physician. And so we're going to pick up where we left off. We're here with our wonderful sister, who is our guest today, our very own Wendy Shurelds. And of course, I told you she's mother, author, which we're going to get into, realtor, entrepreneur, and of course breast cancer survivor and advocate, which we'll touch on also.
Well, activist, I put the activist because of the workplace safety and
that piece from your mom.
From
okay,
my
so
mom,
we'll find out about that because the advocate piece is more for the breast cancer,
right.
And then the activist is from the workplace thing.
Right.
Okay, so I think what we'll do is for our second segment, we'll talk a little bit about the book because this is really what the show is about.
Right.
Being that the topic is shattered into purpose.
Mm-hmm.
So I guess for the audience's sake, we need to find out how did you even get involved in being one of the co-authors for this book, Open Your Gifts?
Well, I was a tag along. I was a tag along to a event for Kim Cole's. You invited me to go to her event that McKenna was actually hosting, and so I came along with you and enjoyed the show. And she basically, did she sit at our table? She sat at our table.
Mm-hmm. Yes, she did.
She sat at our table, and she was telling us a little bit about, the book and, people's different gifts. And I was like, I have a story to tell.
And she was actually speaking about her first book, which was Open Your Gifts.
Yes, that was the first
Volume 1.
Yeah.
And with that, and she was promoting it. Plus, I think she had a few of the women that were in that book speak that night.
Yeah, she only had one.
One lady up there.
Yeah, she had brought one with
one
her.
From Los Angeles,
right?
Okay.
Los Angeles, and and I was intrigued with the young lady that she brought from Los Angeles with her, and when she sat down at our table, she basically, when I said I have a story to tell, and she was like, well, you need to be in this book, in the second book, and I was just like, remember I was unsure, and then the credit card thing wouldn't work, for me to sign on, and do all her forms and all the other stuff, and then afterwards, I was just like, that little side of me kicked in. It was like, you just don't have time to be writing no book. Who you think you are?
That's the enemy trying to talk on your shoulder.
Right. And I was like, I don't have time, so I never followed up. But Kim Coles reached out to McKenna and said, hey,
one of the authors is not doing what she's supposed to do.
Well, actually, get in contact with her and make sure she's a part of this project.
Okay.
And so McKenna reached back out to me and said, hey, Kim would really want you to be a part of this book, and she says, and not only that, she says, but I'm going to be in it. She says, so, you're going to have to be in it.
Right.
And I said, all right.
So McKenna kind of encouraged you also.
Me, yeah.
So that night that we went to the first Volume 1, Open Your Gifts kind of reception, she spoke about having a volume 2, and I think that's when some people were signing up. Now, I don't think everyone signed up that night because there were other people that came on board later.
Right.
But a handful of people that were in the audience were interested and signed up because she had a table at the end of the event
Right.
where you could go and sign. That's where you tried to do your thing and it just wasn't working at that particular time.
Now, she only had probably like, at that time, it was me and Curtis.
That was all on that night?
On that night, and then the rest of them came.
Oh.
Yeah.
So when she was sitting over there with the backdrop, that was
Right.
really to sign.
Sign her the book.
She was purchasing. People were
Was
purchasing the
purchasing her-
first book, and she was signing it.
Right. She was signing it. She
Okay.
and the co-author was signing books.
Okay.
But yeah, no one really had committed, to actually. I know Curtis had because he had already had previous conversation with her.
Okay.
From his point of view, because he wanted hey, men got a story to tell too.
Exactly.
So,
Absolutely.
but no one really had committed.
Okay.
I think that she just had Curtis.
So I can't remember offhand, was she really talking it up then, or really was promoting the first book and signing it?
That's what she
and
was
trying to
doing.
sell those. So she said a volume 2 would be coming, but she wasn't really pushing it that hard that day. Because we were she had boxes of books and she was really autographing those, and that was the purpose of that event that night. So,
it was actually that event was promoting her
first book.
her first book, and to introduce her co-author as well, and just to let us know that she would be doing another one.
Correct.
But she was just mainly, promoting her first book and signing autographs. That's how we got our autographs, and also during her event, we each received a gift from her.
Exactly.
So I thought that was very, very special.
Right. That was a good event overall.
Yeah.
And it introduced you to being one of the co-authors of Volume 2.
Right.
So let's dive into it. Your chapter, you're one of what? How many authors?
It's actually, it was 44, but actually it's only 42.
42 authors in the book. Okay. So you have a chapter in there, and the title is Shattered into Purpose. So tell us, what does that mean? And just dive into it. Give us an idea without telling everything, because we want people to buy it, and we'll tell them how they can purchase it, as we go along. But tell us why you chose, what were you trying to tell, why you chose that title, and then give us a little snippet as to what's in that chapter.
Well, the reason why I chose Shattered into Purpose, because I felt like my life had been shattered with all the different tragedies that I had endured in my lifespan, and it truly shattered me. I lost my mother, and it was just a dark time in my life, where I went to the dark side and fighting for my own life.
So you got very depressed.
Right. Very, very depressed, but also fighting for my own life with the breast cancer.
So the timeline is your mom's passing, the breast cancer was diagnosed just before or just after that?
After that.
Just after that. So you had like a 1-2 punch.
Yeah.
Okay.
So, and then not only battling, fighting for my life, but I had a dear friend that was battling and fighting for her life, and she died.
Yeah, she lost her life, and that was during that whole thing too. So you had another loss there.
So I had another loss that kind of shook me, and then after that, I mean, it was you in life you just wonder, like, am I doing something wrong? You start questioning yourself, like, what am I learning from this? You know what I'm saying? How can I do better? And all while I'm going through this, I'm not really understanding that each tragedy that I have, God was showing me something that He wanted me to do. You know what I'm saying? Just
to step into something that He had put you on this earth to do.
Right. And though each, like I said, each tragedy, I may have been in that moment. I was in the pain of being, depressed, and living with that and through that. But also, there's always that shed of light where you can overcome it. And I turned all of my tragedies into something positive.
Okay.
And so to my audience, it's like no matter what you go through in life, you can never allow anything to keep you in that pain, keep you down and depressed. You cannot mask in it and you cannot live in it. You have to find a way to get out of it, and this is what this book is, it's an awesome book because it's a self-help book, and it's giving you different tools of all the different people all around the world on how they overcame different things in their life. And it's a testimony for me, because I tell you, if you would ask me 10 years ago what I would be doing, it would be none of this. It would be none of this. I never even imagined that I would be on this type of platform.
And the thing about it is the Lord doesn't give you more than you can bear.
Right.
So
exactly.
at the time that you're going through each one of these blows, the loss of your mom, the diagnosis of your breast cancer, the loss of your friend who was fighting for her life with breast cancer and lost, that somewhere along the way you needed the skill set that you were going to be learning, that toughness, that stick-to-itiveness, that determination to be able to step into what he really wanted you to do, and to be an advocate, an activist for your moms, on your mom's behalf, which we'll get into, and then an advocate for the breast cancer warriors and survivors.
Right.
And so with that, that's really, unfortunately, through every test, there's a testimony. And so you have a great testimony to share with people because of all that you've been through.
Yes.
So being an activist, tell us a little bit about your mom's thing without going through a lot of details, but your mom, she was young when she passed away, and it was an accident that could have been avoided.
Right.
And from that you became an activist. So tell us just a little bit about that.
Right. I was very depressed for over 2 years, and I tell you, one of the things that kept me in that dark side is not knowing how my mom died. And it just bothered me.
So they just called you and said that she passed away at work.
Well, we received a call, and they never even told us that she had died. They just said she had an accident
At work.
at work. And so to just learn that you're thinking that your mother just had an accident at work, but to actually learn that she actually died, and she died of upper internal decapitation. You know what I'm saying? So that's just like so like hard to even.
That's like a gruesome picture to.
Right.
Yeah.
It's like it's so gruesome to the point where you can, I immediately get on the plane, to Ohio the next day because I needed answers. And I didn't have time to grieve. When I say I didn't have time to grieve, I didn't grieve because I basically was doing my own investigation. And when I say I was doing my own investigation, I wanted to talk to the first responders. I wanted to talk to the sheriff, and not only that, but they didn't even tell my grandmother, which is my mom's mom, where her body was. And then they allowed my grandmother to identify her own daughter. They allowed an employee to do it. And just so that our audience know that there is 14 people die a day on the job.
From safety issues.
From safety issues, and these deaths are preventable. When I say that they are preventable, they are preventable. So once I learned, when I woke up needing answers. So I started doing research, and lo and behold, there was an article on my mom from an organization.
Mm-hmm.
I reached out to that organization, and I have to say that that organization, which is United, and they're gonna get pissed off at me because it's a long,
you have to abbreviate it.
right? It's a very, very long name,
Mm-hmm.
but it's USMWF,
Okay.
and that organization gave me so much
Mm-hmm.
because not only did the founder, which her name is Tammy Miser, gave me her time.
Mm-hmm.
She gave me, I was angry.
Mm-hmm. Of course.
I mean, and I needed some direction.
Mm-hmm.
And she allowed me to vent to her for 4 hours.
Mm-hmm.
And after that, she contacts me and said, hey, we're going to be in Baltimore. And they have the top, the top investigator and the top attorney
Mm-hmm.
for what your mom died of.
Mm-hmm.
And our organization will pay for you
Wow.
to be there.
Wow. That's awesome.
And that was not only God, that was just
Mhm.
God, you know what I'm saying?
Mhm.
He basically just put everything in order.
Mm-hmm.
And it was there for me when I came out, because right when I came out of my depression, immediately I was able to find them.
Mm-hmm.
And I went to Baltimore, and lo and behold, they were like angels to me, at that time, because I asked them to look into my mom's case.
Mm-hmm.
They did, and to come to find out, my mom's death was so preventable.
Mhm.
If they would have just took a few extra steps
For safety precautions.
for safety precautions, she would be here today.
Mm-hmm.
And to learn that, but not only to learn that it was preventable, but to also learn that my mom was in excellent health. Her autopsy revealed nothing.
Nothing other than the trauma from the injury.
Yep. And so to learn that, I used that ammunition to I didn't even know I was going to Congress. That when I was in Baltimore, we went to D.C. as well,
Mm-hmm.
to speak to Congress,
Mhm.
the different senators, and
To lobby on behalf of
right. Well,
workplace safety.
workplace safety, and just basically I was actually allowing my mom's voice to be heard,
Mm-hmm.
and I was put on the spot because I did not know that I was going there, but it was my heart. I spoke from the heart,
Mhm.
and by me being able to speak from the heart, and to tell the senators and to tell Congress what they actually took
Mm-hmm.
from me and my family.
Yes, absolutely.
And that they are, I look at them and I didn't hold anything back. I looked at them as murderers
Mhm.
because they are no different than anybody on the street that take a gun and shoot somebody.
Mm-hmm. An innocent person.
An innocent person.
She shows up to work
Work.
in the anticipation that you're going to go home that day.
Exactly. So the thing of it is, and our motto is, everyone does go to work to come back home. They do not go to work to not come back home.
Mhm.
So, that's a given that people take for granted.
Mhm.
And so we wanted Congress to know that our little organization, we want to go stand for it.
Mhm.
And I have to say, because my mom's case was, she was a mother. Normally you hear about the men,
Mhm.
the sons, the fathers,
Mhm.
but you never hear about the women
Right.
that actually die on the job. That is something that we don't call it an accident, we call it an incident,
Mhm.
because an incident is preventable.
Mhm. Mhm.
So I
So
became an advocate.
I was going to say, from that, being an activist on behalf of your mother and workplace safety, you were able to get some things changed for workplace safety, right?
Yeah, so our organization was a small organization, but we were big in voice
Mm-hmm.
and what we believed in and what we were doing. Our journey was huge because we set out to make a difference. And part of that difference, which I am really, really proud of, is I helped along with the, our USMWF family. We wrote the first Family Bill of Rights, which OSHA adopted.
Okay.
So
Okay.
we were very, very proud of that.
So with that, does that get incorporated into most job areas to incorporate this safety thing to prevent?
Right. Well, they didn't have
Incidences.
any. They didn't have any protocol as to dealing with the families, how they should make those calls. They didn't have anything, and we basically were able to do that groundwork.
Okay. Give them like a toolkit
Yes.
on how they
And
handle
we
it.
went to when they adopted it. We went to DC.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
So I was actually, I went to the OSHA's Big Ten meetings in Dallas, Texas, and often got called to actually speak about my mom's death because, like I said, it was a mother, and the nature of her death, was just, they were, just like they were overwhelmed.
Yeah, so tragic.
Right.
And so unnecessary.
And so I made sure that her death was not in vain. And through the process, it healed me. I did not even know that I was being healed. To know that not only you're fighting on the behalf of your mother, but you're fighting for the sinners because you just truly do not want them to endure all the hurt and pain that you and your family have occurred. And and it's still, I remember it just like it was yesterday. And the hurt, it eases up, but it's the void that you have to deal with on a daily basis of missing, a mother. This is the person that brought you into this world. This is the person that have loved upon you from day one, and not being able to talk or see that person. Yeah.
Do you know offhand, or did it ever come up, was there any other person on that work plant, that place, that had an incident like your mother's, or she was the first one?
I'm gonna say that she was the first one because the owners, because in its DTR in Bluffton, Ohio.
What is that?
It is an entity of Honda. They actually make rubber parts for
So it's
the
like
cars.
a big factory?
Ah,
got it.
Yeah, it's like a big factory. And so the owners came in from Japan. They flew in from Japan, had translators and everything, but they never contact us personally. We had to receive that information from one of my mom's nephews, which was my cousin, from word of mouth. And when I called there, they still would not tell me. They just told me my mom had an accident. So that was something that I wanted to change.
Right. Do you know if the equipment she was working with malfunctioned?
Yes, it was.
Okay.
OSHA cited them for 13 or 14 violations, and this is the thing. Corporations are able to negotiate behind closed doors without family members being there, and that is one of the things that we fought for. That they have to contact the family, so that these corporations can look in the family's eyes while they're trying to negotiate. We can't negotiate when we get a ticket. We have to pay for it. We can't say, okay, we'll do this and we'll do that, and then the fine gets reduced, drastically. My mom's fine was reduced to $7,000 and something, and I'm like, you mean to tell me that a human life is only worth that?
So in other words, the violations that were going on in the plant, they could negotiate with the owners. They were cited, and they should have been penalized, but they were able to negotiate and get down the burden of responsibility down to something that was little or nothing.
Little or nothing, and not only that, but those citations were, if they agreed to do this, then they will wipe out those citations.
Okay.
And it's, and it's really, it is very disheartening
Yeah.
to the families to learn of that, because you hurt an animal, you're going to go to jail.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying?
Mhm.
And they are actually killing and murdering, human life. And
They're getting a slap on the
they're
wrist.
getting a slap on the wrist. And why people don't know about workplace safeties and the fatalities, because it's swept under the rug. And it's something that they never report. They don't report it often.
Right.
You don't hear about it, and you will not know about it until it happens to you or your loved one. And I was the same way. I was very, very non-educated on it because it hadn't happened to me. And that was one of the things that I did want to let the public know. And so our jobs was to reach out to those families that have lost loved ones and help them along their journey, losing their loved one on the job, as well as helping them through the process and what it takes for each, because you're lost. You don't know where to begin, where to start. Nobody want to give you answers, and so that was what USMWF stood for, what their greatness was, and I have to say I am so grateful to be a part of that organization.
Well, it wasn't a coincidence that they happened to come in your life and be there. And that's all God ordained, and that's what could help you get through the process, the loss, and the healing part of it. So in your chapter, obviously, you mentioned some of that, right? And then you obviously touch on some other things. Let us know what other types of, shatteredness in your thing drove you to your purpose. Obviously, breast cancer, because there's a purpose in there, which is what you stepped into now over the last few years.
So, along my journey of breast cancer, I wanted to basically battle mine privately. As my friend, and by the way, my girlfriend name is Tanya Williams. Rest in heaven. She was a beautiful spirit, beautiful soul. She chose to battle hers in the public eye and she went throughout the churches to share her journey and her bout with breast cancer. And not only that, but just to let African American women know that we were at risk. And once she died, I made her a promise that I would basically continue on that journey. And at that time, I didn't know how I was going to fulfill that journey. And it just, God, He awesome, because, again, I never, ever thought that I would have this platform, and He just put me where He wanted me to be. And I didn't, and I never asked for any of it.
Right. So as you tried to go through your breast cancer journey, on a private platform, you were pulled once you got through your day-to-day grind of the surgeries and the chemo or whatever else you had, that then you found yourself, involved with Coleman because you received some resources from there or something, or learned about them, right?
Actually, I had learned. I never, told. I never told, because how I ended up at Coleman was because after my girlfriend died, she died in October. They had the race for the cure in November. So I actually formed a team in honor of her. I won an airline ticket to go anywhere I wanted to go, and I ended up in Coleman's office.
And that's okay, to go and pick up the tickets, the gift, and then that's how you got introduced to it.
Yes.
And then of course you met. Is that when you met Lorraine?
No, I met Lorraine after the fact, because when I went into office, I actually met the CEO and president, which was Laura Farmer, and she basically told me about the Circle Promise, but at that time I shunned it away because I felt like I was too busy, and just didn't have time for it, and I talk about how I end up at Coleman.
You had plans, but God had other plans for you, right?
Right, and it's just it just was a coincidence, and like I said, God put me where He wanted me to be, and although I was shattered, by not only my my own breast cancer battle, but losing a friend who I battled, with the breast cancer, but her passing, and not knowing what direction that I was going into, and and again, I just did not know that I would be here.
And now look at what he has.
I know.
You're over at Coleman.
Yeah.
As the community resource
Resource
advocate
advocate.
out here letting our women know, the black and brown women, that we are at high risk and that we need to have our mammograms done on an annual basis starting at the age of 40
Right.
because we have a 41% higher mortality rate. We die from our breast cancer.
Exactly.
So that's
I
the
would
reason
like
why
to.
you're there.
I would like to share, because I didn't get to say this in the book, is that how I ended up at Coleman. I had already been introduced to Coleman. They had already seeked me out, and but how I actually got pulled in was from Lorraine Hutchinson,
Right.
because she the one that pulled me in. I actually went to Coleman to replace, her just on a temporary basis. You hear this, Lorraine?
And what, 2.5 years later?
Right, temporarily to cover her for a leave.
she left permanently.
And she left permanently.
But you know what? At that time, she was having her own struggles because
Yes.
her dad was sick, and she needed to step away to take care of his needs.
Right.
And then, and she being a breast cancer survivor, the stress of that, you don't want to put yourself at risk with more stress to, have a possibility of having recurrence. So she stepped away. It was a long journey for her and a long fight with trying to make sure her dad was settled in during his passing,
Right.
and the recovery from that.
Exactly.
That your temporary position became a little more permanent.
Right,
And she just
and
said,
only
I'm not
reason,
coming back.
Right, and only reason why I accepted the position, it was, I think that in my heart that it was supposed to happen that way, and also because my heart went out to her because I was a daddy's girl, she was a daddy's girl, and I knew how important it was for her to care for her dad because I was able and blessed to care for mine before his time.
Passing, right.
Yeah.
And that's important. Are there other little tidbits you want to say about your chapter before we kind of wrap that up? Because everyone's going to go out and get the book. You need to let them know. Give some final tips, but then let them know how they can purchase the book.
So also a part of my shatteredness is I lost my dad. He was the last tragedy for me to lose. And he was my everything. He was my confidant. He was my best friend, my spiritual advisor, just my everything. And he was my biggest cheerleader as I battled breast cancer. So I can say that I grieved his death healthier than I did my mom's. Because part of that journey was something that he had told me, which is in the book, and how all of this came into full circle on something that he had already told me. So you guys have to go out and purchase this book. It's awesome. You can go to my website, Many Shades of Pink 1.com. You can contact me and you can buy it on Facebook. I'm under Wendy Shurelds, or you can just DM me. I'm on all the social media platforms, Instagram under Lady Red 3121. Let's go out to get the book.
Yeah. And you have your beautiful picture on the back.
Yes.
And then inside they also have pictures of each author and a little tidbit on who they are, learn more about them, and they also give you contact in the book as to how to reach all the other authors too.
Right.
So first you have to get one of these in your hand.
Yes, you do. So, and also if you buy the book from me, that means that the profit comes to me. So you have to make sure you buy it from me.
Amen. Amen. So we have just a couple minutes. So do you want to go ahead and do your Wendy's vent of the week?
Yes. And this is going to be fast. So as I, go throughout my week, I see that people had a level of expectation of President Obama. So this is what I want to say is expectation. People have so many expectations of others. In life, we often have expectations that go unmet, leaving you just frustrated. Well, we don't have to be frustrated. You have to start letting your observation take lead, discard your expectation in the moment, and deal with reality at hand. Then after the fact, you have a conversation with whoever is involved about what you expect and why. But you guys don't have access to Obama. So therefore, that should have been not a expectation that you shouldn't have had.
Right. Unreal expectations.
Right.
And that's her vent for the week.
Right.
So with that, I'm going to make our announcement. Obviously, we have our regular monthly community outreach event at the Big Lots parking lot on Federal and Euclid, and that's 1655 Euclid Avenue. We're there every third Wednesday of the month. Our next event is about a week and a half. It's going to be on September 19th. We're there from 10 to 6. We have several vendors out there, different organizations that are providing different services. We are going to have the Coleman mobile van, mammogram van there, providing free mammograms that day, correct?
Yes. So for any of you women that have not had a mammogram for this year, 12 months, 40 and over, even under 40, if you have concerns or symptoms, come on out and get your mammogram.
Yeah, very important.
Yes.
So, and the mammograms will be offering from 11 to 6, right?
Yes.
Right. And so there's other things there. And if you're one of the first 100 participants that come out, you will get a free bag of produce and other little goodies too. So we expect to see you there. It's a blessing. And if you yourself cannot be there, please share that information with a friend, a neighbor, a coworker, or someone. Just come on out. The only reason why we're there is to help serve the community. And we can't continue to come out if there's no one that comes and participates. So it's very expensive to bring these mobile vans out.
Yes.
And we have to show a reason why they need to keep coming out. And
And-
Big Al's going to be providing the good smooth jazz and all kinds of other oldies but goodies music.
Right.
We have a live DJ out there, always, putting it on. We're going to have Facebook Live going on there too.
Facebook Live going on. And I just want to say that just keep in mind, when you do share it with your family and friends, you could be potentially saving a life.
Absolutely, because we have seen so many blood
Exactly.
pressures that are
Oh
super
my
elevated.
gosh.
Blood sugars are in the 200 and 300
Oh,
range.
right.
And so, if nothing more, that's the whole reason why we're out there, is to save a life. So
Yes.
please just make sure you understand the importance of it and why we're out there.
Mhm.
There's nothing in it for us but gratification that we're doing what God's asked us to do. We're being obedient and stepping into our purpose. And so allow us to gift you by allowing him to work through us. That's really what
Exactly.
it's all about.
Yes.
So I want to say a last pitch on making sure you get the book, Open Your Gifts, Volume 2. Our very own sis, Wendy Coles, has her chapter in there and her beautiful
No,
picture
I'm
on
not.
the back.
I'm not Wendy.
I mean, Wendy, I'm
Coles.
sorry. Wendy Shurelds. I got big old cold here. I'm so sorry. Wendy Shurelds. That's why your name should be bigger print, as we were talking about
Exactly.
before. But anyway, we'll take that up with the other person. So anyway, let's go ahead and wrap it up.
Okay, so you have been listening to the Many Shades of Pink and Black Health Radio program on kblkradio.com. And I just want you guys to know to tune in to Many Shades of Pink website. It just went up. And also to visit Coleman at www.colemansd.org. And also like our Facebook page. And please subscribe to our YouTube channel. We need our subscribers. So please subscribe.
Yeah, so if you can't be available to listen to the show on the radio, kblkradio.com, on Sunday at 2 o'clock, then by all means just go ahead and check out the interview and our show on YouTube. So thank you so much and have
Thank
a
you.
wonderful weekend.
All right.